Hi, everybody. So, I want to talk a little bit today about Edward Tulane and character studies, specifically using theories about character to make predictions. Today's objective for this lesson is for you to be able to say, I can make reasonable predictions based on knowing the character. Now, you guys have read a lot of books, and we've talked about a lot of different characters, most recently, Opal India. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Edward Tulane. So, what I want to teach you is that when we think about our main characters, what they say and how they act, we can predict how they will act in certain situations. Prediction, you remember, is an educated guess, not just, oh, I think I'm going to have pizza with moon cheese for dinner. That's a guess. But what we're looking for are educated guesses, using what we know to inform our guess. So, why is this important? Our emotional attachment to a story or a character depends on us caring. If we don't care, we don't attach. By being able to predict, we know we're caring. All right, so let's think about Edward a bit. Getting to know Edward Tulane. Some of the things we already know about Edward from chapter 1 and chapter 2 is that Edward thinks he's a very elegant rabbit, meaning he thinks a lot of himself. He likes the darkness at night just so he can stare at his reflection. He's loved by Abilene. Abilene is always saying, I love you, Edward. Never leave me, Edward. He doesn't like being called an it or a bunny, or being handled by a dog, or being put with dolls. He thinks he's too good for all of that. And Edward does not like adults. Does Edward seem like someone you'd want to be friends with? This question is just for you to ask yourself. I don't think he's somebody I would want to be friends with. Now, Abilene loves Edward. She takes good care of him and she treats him like a real friend, setting him up on a chair, giving him a watch to know what time it will be when she comes home because she figures when she's home, that's when Edward will have the best part of his day. She puts him at the dining room table. She expects people to talk to him. She really loves this doll. How do you think Edward feels about Abilene based on what we've learned about Edward so far? Now, at the end of chapter 2, it infers that Edward's life was pretty routine and maybe even a little boring. But then it says, until the ship was mentioned. Now, we don't know anything about a ship, but it was definitely presented to us as if something is coming. What do you think Edward's reaction could be? So, in your own reading, whatever book you're choosing to read, find places in your book where you realize you can or you are making predictions about what your character will say or do based on what you already know. In Google Classroom, I would like you to choose one of the questions and post your answer on Google Classroom for me to read and for everyone else to read. Remember, the questions were, how do you think Edward feels about Abilene? And what do you think Edward's reaction could be to the boat that we don't know anything about yet? So, in summary, you've learned make reasonable predictions based on knowing the character. How they act now will often predict how they will continue to act later in the story. All right, that's all for now. Thank you.